Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our May NYCP Talking Circle. Thank you, folks, for coming in. I encourage you just to make sure that you're able to access your audio in your chat box, because today is going to be a little different than what we have done in the past. But before we get started, we will review our disclaimer.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred.
Awesome, thank you. Just a few things before we start today. I wanted to introduce and allow our Office of Indian Education program officers here today to introduce themselves. And as we open this space and welcome all of our amazing presenters today, Donna, can you kind of start us off and set the tone for why we're here today?
Sure. Well, hey, Ashri Shri Dana Datsla Nishaklua, Ashri Naisha Nili, Nikakathesni, thank you all for being here. NYCP people, I missed you. I'm back for just a little bit, and then I'll hand you right back over to Hannah. But I wanted to bring over some guests, some friends who kind of help you put everything together that you've done this year. This is your second year of the grant, and just kind of reflect. I know the APR was a lot, and those APRs are always a lot. So instead of having more data and more numbers and all the things pushed at you, and May is always tough, but I wanted to have some speakers here to speak life into you all and into your grants and into your kids. Because this is all about our kids, our Indian kids across Indian country. So I have three special guests here today that I've known for a while and worked with alongside a few. And I hold them all in high regards because of the work that they do across Indian country. So I hope you feel rejuvenated and have some ideas as you go into the summer, into next year, for your third year of the grant. And you all are doing a great job with this grant. This grant means a lot. I love my NYCP grant. I started with this grant as a tribal services director along with Chelsea, and we made some amazing strides back home in Anadarko, Oklahoma. So this grant means a lot to me. And I know it means a lot to you all too. So I will turn it back over to Doris, but thank you all for being here. I will turn it back over to Hannah. Hannah, do you want to introduce yourself? Hannah, you're on mute.
Thank you. Had to happen sometime. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Donna, for that great introduction, for starting us off and for guiding me through the NYCP grant and supporting me as I take on this role. I just want to echo what Donna said, and also thank you for being here. Thank you for all the hard work you're doing. I know I'm popping up in some of your inboxes a lot. It's with lots of love. Thank you so much. Thanks for being there for children and for communities, and I appreciate it. So glad to have you here.
And we'll get started while we're waiting on Doris. I want to introduce our three guests, and if you all don't mind just introducing yourself and kind of what you do and to our group of NYCP grantees. And we'll start with Jason, then hand it off to Chelsea, and then go to Coach James Kelly after that.
So Beleja Awajia Hook Yibzaluka. I'm glad to be here, everybody. My name is Jason Cummins. I'm currently a professor at Montana State University. I spent a year last year working for the White House and there at the Department of Ed, and I've been a school administrator for about 20 years. Through those 20 years, had a lot of partnerships and a lot of good times, good experiences, and got a lot of stuff done. But it's really happy to be here with such outstanding people. So thanks for inviting me.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chelsea Pendarvis Duro. I'm a member of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, and I'm the public health administrator for the Wichita and affiliated tribes. Donna and I go way back. I like to say like 4 flats on a Cadillac, but I don't know if you guys are ready for that kind of energy yet. So I'll kind of save that, for the talking circle. But I'm just super thankful that Donna, that you thought of me to be a part of this with a, excellent group of people. And so, yeah, just looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is James Kelly. I'm a member of the Kiowa tribe in Choctaw Nations of Oklahoma school in Anadarko, Oklahoma, school in the United States. I teach geometry there, but I also teach coach girls basketball there. We've had some recent success reaching, with our native kids. It's a little bit special. It's not out of the ordinary in our area, but it's really big for our communities that it's an all-native school. And then outside of that, we help kids get connected.
I think your Wi-Fi's cutting in and out a little bit. I know one way to mitigate that would, if you just turn off the camera, maybe sometimes that helps because it takes a bunch of bandwidth, but we can come back to, hopefully you're still on. But we'll come back to. So we'll start with just some questions, and I know my guest will talk a little bit about some of these questions that I have, and if you all have any questions for them as we go through the conversation, just pop them in the chat, raise your hand, and we'll get to you all. And I know everyone has, we've all faced the same hardships in Indian country, no matter where. That's the one thing I found out when working here at the Department of Ed with all of you. We all have very similar hardships. But that doesn't define us either. Our strengths define us. So I want, if Jason and Chelsea, you can speak on the sort of the issues that you may have come across during, and Coach Kelly, when you're back, if we can speak on any issues about the mental health part of, and the importance of the mental health and incorporating culture or incorporating representation in different areas. So whoever wants to start. Chelsea. Pick on Chelsea.
See me look away a little bit, try to hide from you guys. Yeah, so as a public health administrator here with the Wichita affiliated tribes, I have 9 SAMHSA grants, that I kind of supervise, as well as our health program. So about 15 projects total. But all of them, what we have in common is that we believe that culture is prevention. And it sounds a little cliche, but like it truly is. Culture is prevention. And once kids start to connect like with who they are at their very core, like magical things start to happen. And even for me, I'm Choctaw, but my whole life I thought I was Kiowa. I even got Kiowa tattoo on me, just to represent that because I wasn't connected with my Choctaw culture. My grandmother's a strong, like African American woman. I mean, like Black Panther, African American woman. But growing up in Anadarko in this melting pot of tribes and cultures, I've always believed and always have known that I was Native, but didn't really know. And I think, a part of me was missing. And it wasn't until the pandemic that I signed up for a pop socket beating class that the Wichitas were having. At the time, I was working with Donna with communities and schools, as a high school site coordinator, just finished being a teacher. And I signed up for that pop socket class and hearing the facilitator story and like, dang, like, it felt like a light bulb in me went off and almost like it started healing my inner child. And so, what we do is our programs, we have a great partnership with Anadarko Public Schools and schools around the county, Apache, all these schools that have high Native populations and some that don't. And we're able to go into the schools and provide cultural outreach. The outreach is, and we do ribbon skirts, moccasins, concho belts, all of these things. But the outreach class itself, the cultural part of it, the ribbon skirt is just to get them there. But once we get them there, we talk about mental health, we talk about positive coping skills, we talk about substance abuse, misuse. We give our prevention message, and we have been really, really successful in doing so. Here in our community, like many other communities, fentanyl is an issue. And some of the same kids that I taught 4 years ago, I'm sending them to treatment to rehab, and some of them on their third and fourth time. So I think it's really, really important that you incorporate culture into the schools just to, help some of these kids give an identity. I think what most people don't realize, or they just kind of assume, is that just because you're Native, you're super cultural, and that's not the case. Some are being raised by grandparents or great grandparents, and some of that has been lost, or aunts or uncles or kids. And so I think it's really, really important that somehow, some way, we always try to incorporate, culture into everything that we do in order to help, heal, like I said, heal our inner children and foster, even a positive coping skill for kids to help, with their mental health. Even the parents, we love to invite. We just did a mommy and me ribbon skirt class, and that was super healing and almost life changing for a couple of our participants, because for the first time in their lives, they learned how to sew. The moms learned how to sew, and now they're able to pass that on, to their kids. So it's just super special.
Yeah, I can piggyback off a lot of that. And I think one thing to realize too is that schools are not culturally neutral. There is a culture in schools, and for our Native students, it isn't their culture. And so to try to redirect that and really reinforce our students' culture is really empowering to them, that they can go to school and realize it's okay to be who they are. An identity is so empowering. And just thinking about, Donna said that in the Indian country, we all kind of go through similar things. And that's because of historical trauma is one of the reasons, historical trauma, and recognizing that, I'm thinking of a picture of a map. If you've ever been in a mall, a shopping mall, there's a map and there's a little X that says you are here. And so for us to give our students that you are here experience for them, that your community is here and here's the history, and good and the complicated history, is really empowering. If they know where they come from, then they can know where they're going, and not just to get stuck in a lot of the complicated stuff or negativity, but where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? And it's really empowering to have an educational experience that's culturally responsive, or even having teachers that are trauma informed. And we've been talking a lot lately about mental fitness, not just on mental health, because sometimes that has a connotation that something's wrong, and then kids or adults might even think, that's not for us. But everybody can benefit from mental fitness, whether it's mindfulness, self-regulation, social-emotional learning, and just that type of education happening in our schools is really good. And even if it's not our school, if it's another place, and you know, for our tribal nations, we've always known that place was very important. There are some places that are deemed as sacred. There's some places that are deemed as, you know, just have that quality there. If you can get to that place, you can receive empowerment, healing, guidance, you know, insight. And so I think a lot of the work that you're doing should also do that. And I think that's what you're striving for, is to create that place for our Native kids to receive that guidance and that empowerment, the insight. And not just for the students, but like Chelsea said too, with the adults. And a lot of our parents, they don't know the world that their kids live in. You know, we've had times where we had internet safety courses for our grandparents, for our parents, and a lot of MMI prevention stuff. You know, here's bad places, stay away from there, and there's unsafe people, stay away from them. Like really teaching those skills and being proactive. You know, a lot of times we have tragedies happen, and we're reactive, but we have a chance to be proactive in those areas. And I will pass the mic.
Coach Kelly.
Trying to figure out how I've had the internet connection problem, so I've had to switch to my phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm glad that I followed both of them, because that technically kind of what I do is I connect with Native kids through sports. And you know, culturally, I went through the same thing that Chelsea kind of went through growing up. I'm half Black as well as half Native in Kiowa and Choctaw, and you can kind of get caught up in identity. I had identity issues when I was younger, and found my identity through basketball. Because when you're good at basketball, nobody cares what color you are. But learning that as I've gotten older, I just had a conversation the other day about culture, and how much that basically sports is a part of Native culture, because it's gone from the area of being a warrior and the warrior type societies and things of that nature to the arenas of sports. And it allows us to you know, to use our athletic ability and our prowess and our the things that really made us great warriors and stuff like that, not only just male but also female, so that we can use those things so that we can begin to make ourselves more viable in society. So you know, with all that being said, I use sports to connect to kids, and the reason why is because our kids today don't speak out. There's been a lot of things going on in this area that things are done where people do not speak on, and it's just kind of brushed under the rug. And I deal with that a lot with my own kids, where they just they're not confident enough in themselves to speak out or to want to be heard. They would rather play behind the scenes, or you know, they don't want to, you know, rock the boat or anything like that. So what I have to do is, you know, because I deal with kids from all over the United States and not just from the Anadarko area. And, you know, on the reservations, there's a lot of trauma that happens. So I deal not only with just teaching basketball and building basketball skills, but healing traumas and having kids help face those traumas so that they can heal. Because once they heal and once they get the support, they then begin to grow as teenagers and as young adults. And you give them a voice, and you also, through the team building that we have within our teams, and then you build the skills through basically planting seeds of work, through making yourself better through sports. And then they begin to see successes. The successes builds confidence, and that goes all the way back to the mental health that Mr. Cummins was talking about. So I'm glad that I follow both of those, because culture is part of what we're doing, and it's helping to build mental health. And sports is a really good way to connect to those kids, because they won't speak out, but they will come learn how to play basketball better, how to play baseball better, how to get involved in those athletics. You know, that are, you know, each area of the nation has a, different particular sports that they like, depending on what region that you're in. But, sports is really important to Native culture, because it allows us to have that the old warrior mentality that is built within us. I feel like it's within us, and it's just waiting to come out. But we've been beaten down so long, over the course of generations, and I deal with it every single day, and I have to speak into my kids multiple times over the course of however long they play for me, about how much more powerful they are and how much more better they are than they believe within themselves. And me as a coach, I can see their potential, and where they can get to and what level they can achieve, what we can achieve not only as individuals but also as a team and a unit. But none of that matters if they don't believe in themselves. And the journey that I've had and the successes that I've had has been incremental, but it's been a really long journey, and I'm still, trying to find that perfect formula that has the team, that the kids aren't only coachable, but they're confident and believe in everything that I'm teaching, and also within themselves, because I've experienced a lot where we have been a really talented team, but then there's some teams that we play where they don't believe in themselves and we don't accomplish because of our own mindsets. So the mental health part is really huge, and I have to approach it every single day. So I mean, I that's the avenue that I use, and I'm willing to help and with any questions or anything that I can from here.
Yeah, thank you all for those. And I will say I'm a big fan of Coach Kelly, and watching him bring the basketball team to where it is, and it's been amazing. Back home, and Chelsea can attest to this as well. We have Anadarko Public Schools and we have Riverside. They're both in the same town, and Riverside is our BIE school and Anadarko schools. But anytime our kids go to a basketball tournament, the whole town, all the Anadarko, all the Carnegie, every Indian person in Southwest Oklahoma is going to follow Riverside. And they were probably at the big house watching you guys play, and it's been really heartwarming to see those girls and their confidence levels. And when they go into, was it last year when they all had their ribbon skirts on and just looking keen, going in there and playing ball and dominating. So, and that's so heartwarming to see our Indian girls out there. So I appreciate you all being here, and thank you, Coach, for that. And I think Chelsea, building off of that, the team and the sports, and you playing ball in Anadarko, and then now a professional football player, and how and she's a great teacher. She was a first-year teacher. And what was your scores for those classes? And Anadarko is our 78% native, with over 100 different tribes represented at the time we were there. But
yeah, teaching kind of just fell in my lap a little bit. It was my first year. It was the first time we had in a long time any kids passed the AP English exam, native kids. I don't know, maybe it's my spin on hip hop on Shakespeare and the Scarlet Letter. But I think we kind of grew up together, and AP kids, it was a special class. And then, my first year we had one kid pass, but we had 7 of them, score. I think just one that were just away. And then the next year I had 2 kids pass, which from nothing to something it was pretty dope. It was pretty amazing. And I think the biggest thing is that when kids see people that like them, they start to have a belief within themselves that you get from anywhere else. And I think that's also important, is that we have to, even as adults, take accountability and be willing to sit at tables that we feel uncomfortable at. Always say, like, You know, if you don't have a seat at the table, then you're probably on the menu. And so it's really important it was really important for me to teach. It was really important for me when I was teaching just to stick by my guns and to stay true to who I am. And, you know, and who I am is someone who absolutely loves Anadarko community. I mean, I've got it tattooed on me how much I love Anadarko. I do. I love the community, and I let everyone know it, and I'm not afraid to, and I'm not ashamed of going to college and, you know, we get my master's and coming back to be here. I'm not ashamed of that. And sometimes a lot of our kids are. They don't want to come back. They don't want to, you know, do those things. And I think the biggest thing that I could do is just, you know, preach and practice what I preach. You know, to say it's cool to come back. It's cool to take care of your hometown. It's cool to take care of people who are investing in you. It's okay. It's cool to do that. As far as teaching, as far as me playing professional football, I played for the Oklahoma City Lady Force. Last year we came short in the national championship game from a team from New York. It's nothing like getting beat on national television by 20 points, but neither here nor there. The year before that, we were national champions, and there are people, you know, there's another Chelsea from Anadarko on the team, and we have Native representation on our team as well. You know, Comanche Nation, Chickasaw Nation. We have that representation, and I think it's just, man, it's just awesome, and it's just full of women empowerment. We have moms. I think we might have a grandma on our team, but it's just to be around, you know, women, you know, women of color, and just to feel empowered. It's full tackle football, so if you guys, you know, want to go to our Facebook page, OKC Lady Force, you know, we just hope to empower women and young girls just to be brave and to be the warriors, you know, that they've always have been. So, yeah.
And Jason, to piggyback off of that too, talking about being on the menu, and if not a seat at the table, and I think sometime up here, and you know this way more than I do, way better than I do about being up here. Sometimes you're still on the menu and at the table at the same time, but and fighting to make sure that we're not on the menu anymore. And I know Jason has been fighting for you guys when he was up here. But yeah, you could speak on some of that too, Jason.
Yeah, I think it's really important for us as, I guess, us, you know, thinking to be strategic and to really work hard and try to have that spirit of excellence and pass that spirit on to our students too. Let them know, look at, hey, here's your beadwork, or here's your weaving, here's your tribe's, you know, whatever that their tribe might have, and say, look at that excellence within there. And show them that it's there within their identity and their culture and their tribe, and how can that translate into other parts of their life, you know, and you know, that resilience is in their DNA. And it takes educators and leaders to tell the students who they are. You know, hey, you know, telling the kids that, you know, in your DNA, there's visionaries, there's warriors, there's healers. That's who you come from. You're a survivor. You come from strong people, and just building that identity within them. And then us, I think, just to be strategic in that manner. I was very fortunate to lead a school, and we had a lot of language revitalization efforts going on in our school. And that was healing. You know, with historical trauma and the Department of Interior, one of the recommendations they have for the boarding schools is language revitalization, because that does bring healing, you know, with parents or grandparents learning the language along with their students. And then even the concepts within the words, it brings a knitting together of, you know, the society, the community. And you might say, nobody speaks the language, but if you can learn 20 phrases, you know, 20 phrases in a quarter, you know, that's 20 more than what you had before. And, but I would say, you know, when doing that, I'm very fortunate. I forgot, I forgot to tell you where I'm from. I'm from the Crow Indian Reservation. You know, and me and my wife have been married over 29 years. We have 4 sons, 2 grandkids. But she's a fluent Crow speaker. You know, Crow is her first language, and me and her, and I'm not fluent but I'm functional. But we both went to school not knowing English. And to have that there, I think we need it for our kids, even if it's, I'm talking in circles now, so it's a good thing this is a talking circle. But some of the language revitalization stuff we had in our school, I was very fortunate to work with some teachers and who were just really terrific. But we did and it felt kind of foreign. Like we said, hey, we're gonna have some affirmations. And we started laughing, like, what are affirmations? And then we said, well, there's things we want our kids to have in their mind, in their identity. So in our language, we're going to have them say it every single day, right after, a lot of schools do the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning. So right after that, in our language, we would say, I'm strong, I'm able, I'm capable, I'm healthy, and just every day in the language, these values that we have and that we want our kids to have, we would have them, repeat that to themselves for years now. And the culture, it's alive, it's alive, and it is preventative. We had a dual language track within our school, like from preschool all the way up to 5th grade. So they'd learned English and the Apsáalooke language. After a few years, those kiddos were learning, their reading scores in English were higher than the English only classrooms. They had less behavior issues. They were more cohesive. And a lot of the kids, even if they weren't speakers, and being around the language, the tone and the cadence of the language that the teachers had, it was calming to them. Because even if they didn't speak the language at home, they had that tone, they had that, cadence of the language. And but I was supposed to talk about, Donna, you wanted me to talk about being strategic, but I'll just say we need all of you to just get involved. Wherever you're at, get involved. We need people to do the work, and continue to do the work. You wouldn't be here if you weren't doing the work, but and pull others on board, pull them on board. Let people know how they can help, because a lot of people do want to help, they just don't know how. And I'll say this to James really quick. I think basketball has become a cultural event in our communities, hasn't it? I hope some of that made sense. There's so much I want to say, and but I would say get involved and tell our kids how they can get involved. Some of them probably want to lead, a school. We need more Native teachers. We need more Native American principals, superintendents. We need lawyers to work in DC to advocate for us. We just really need to cast this vision before our students so that they know what's out there for them.
Another, again, piggybacking off of those two, Chelsea talked about, some things that she went through, and I just heard the other day, addiction and why addiction begins. And basically the core of it is because there's something missing. And so they seek out things to fill that void. So, I think that through our culture, again, it doesn't have to be sports, but Mr. Cummins talked about, their beadwork and things like that. And whenever they begin to have the success, and whenever they have the language and the things that they have that are unique to our culture, that makes them who they are, there's no need to seek the things that would help with the emptiness that they deal with. And luckily, I going through my own identity phases as a teenager, it was that you're not Black enough or you're not Native enough. And then, of course, we all know that sometimes our Native people are just as racial, if not more racial than others. And so to be part Black, you was hammered by your own, Native side. So for me, seeking the emptiness of that was what I found in basketball. And I was just lucky to find a positive addiction versus the negative addiction. And it helped fill that. And once it filled that, my identity was able to change until I was able to be strong enough to claim who I was, regardless of what you thought about whatever color that I was, because I didn't get to pick who my mother and father were. So I really feel like that our culture, when it's reintroduced, because we have lost some of it, it begins to fill those voids, and therefore performances change, and addictions are lessened. The negative behaviors are lessened because of the confidence and things that it builds within that. So, I mean, I want to encourage everybody to the same way, but the biggest key is, and happens with me having to deal with college coaches all the time. There's a ton of kids out there that are able to play college basketball because I help both boys and girls, and I also help other coaches outside, not just native coaches, but others. But sometimes they'll be like, they'll be really good basketball players, but they don't have any film to send to a coach. So that's literally like going fishing without bait on a hook. So in that same manner, like within our own kids, we have to, and within our own programs, what are you doing to bring the kid to you? What does your program offer that brings the kid to you? Because within sports, there's enough of the notoriety in society that they will seek out a coach or something that can help them be better. But if your program doesn't offer that, look, I'm in a good area where sports is big and basketball is big. I get a ton of kids. And I'm also, social media is another huge tool that I use, and kids will seek me out. Can you help me find colleges? So your programs have to also do that. What's the bait on your hook to bring the kid to you? And then once you get the kid to you, then you can begin to do the things that you need to do within your programs, and to build the culture, to build the confidence, to build those things. Because otherwise, in the culture that we are in, that we talked about earlier, they're not going to speak up. But they've always been told, I'm not going to look you in the eyes, and I'm not going to speak first. I'm only going to speak when spoken to first. So how do you expect to get a kid to you if that's their culture? That's the norm. So how do you get them outside of their comfort zone to begin to seek you out? You have to have the bait on your hook so that you can bring the kid to you, so that they'll seek you out. Because you can't force people to do stuff, but if they're willing to take that first step, at that point you can then take them and build them and grow them in the direction that's a positive. So that's what I wanted to add to that.
Yeah, thank you. And just thinking about everything that everyone has said, like Jason mentioned, pulling that resilience out of their DNA. But like Coach Kelly has said also, that sometimes we're beat down. I was raised by my grandparents. My grandma's full Comanche, my grandpa's full Apache, and I always had someone to fight for me growing up. And then when they both left this world, I had to learn how to fight on my own. And that was difficult. I didn't know I had that resilience. Sometimes I feel it here through you all, and then sometimes I don't, because of things that happen here. But how would we pull that resilience out of kids that have no one may have been there to fight for them? And I know my NYCP people, we have some ways of getting our kids to participate in the things that we're doing that we know that's good for them. And sometimes it's hard to get them there, like what Coach was saying. So for all of our speakers, I'll pose that question: how or has there been a time where even you have known? I think Chelsea's always been resilient. I don't know if she's ever had a bad day ever, but she's always so positive, and she's helped me be positive and not talk like a little old lady, like a little ogaku. She's helped me do that too, because I don't say toot my own horn anymore. She made me stop saying that. I got to say flex on them. So I haven't seen her in a while. She's gonna have to give me some more lingo. But that's what I want to. How do we pull that resilience out of our kids? and my NYCP folks work with a lot of kids, a lot of teachers, a lot of schools. Some are at tribes, some are at BIE schools. How would you say that you have been able to do that? Or when you were, when that happened to you, something in your life, culture, sports, anything. So whoever wants to start, oh, there's Chelsea. How about you go first?
I feel like my face is just first on your screen. Um, yeah, man. Ah, I think I don't know. I think that, for me growing up, kind of like Coach Kelly said, I'm glad he's on here too, because I feel like he should owe me $15 for forgetting to unsubscribe to the subscription service to watch his team play in state. So might have to go across the street and get my money back from him. I forgot to cancel my subscription. Anyways, I think I have always, resilience is I think it's in everyone's DNA. And one of my coaches right now, one of the things that we say is that, like, somehow you got to get that dog to come out of you. And when you think of like a shy, timid kid, and how do you pull that dog out of them? It's just all about building a rapport. One of the things that was effective for me whenever I was teaching, and even now, is that I just showed up to events. Because sometimes I feel like if we're only showing up for them when we want to ask them to do a survey, or we want to ask them to do something, or we want to collect data, or we want to do this, and we're always needing something from them, then, like, sometimes I think that's how they see us. But like, I was showing up to basketball games, band concerts, plays, just anything. If there was a student that I had a tiny bit of a connection with, or one that I wanted to build a connection with, I just showed up. I was just there. I was just present. And it was exhausting in the beginning. It really was. It was super exhausting, but it's just so worth it. It's just so worth it. Just because you think, like, mom and dad, or grandma and grandpa, auntie and uncle, like, they may not be able to show up to that play because they're working and they got to provide for the family, but you're available. And even and they pay attention to that. I remember, my mother was an addict most of my life growing up, and no matter how many basketball games my grandma showed up to or my dad showed up to, I was always looking in the stands for my mama, and she was never there. But I never stopped looking for her. I never stopped wishing and hoping she would be there. But for some kids, just, maybe to see their teacher, or to see, you work with them, if they can see your face there, like, that helps. Because when I saw my favorite teacher at the game, whenever I saw, someone from the school, tell me I did a good job, it made it all worth it. Yes, I still miss my mama. Nothing could take that away. But I knew that, my teachers and in the school, they really cared about me. So I guess my advice would be just to build a rapport with your students and show up outside of school if you can, like band and athletics and just whatever they do, art contest or anything. I think just that simple acknowledgement will eventually, build a rapport and build trust. And then when it comes down to it, like, those kids will run through a brick wall for you, and then they will pass it on. Like, for example, when I first started here at the Wichita Tribe, I was begging for kids to be interns. I'm telling you, I'm almost door to door, like, please come be an intern. We need you to be an intern. I may have 5 applicants. Last year, I think we had 15. Today, in this week, we have over 50 applicants. 50. Because they want to be a part of what we got going on here, and they see us in the community. And that's just because we just been showing up. And so I guess my advice to you would be just to show up for them in more ways than, collecting quantitative and qualitative data. Show up, just as a human, and as yourself. So.
Well, I can go, since I think this is the order we're going. But it's really exciting that it's been proven now that we can help heal trauma. With the plasticity of students' brains, that healthy relationship with a healthy adult can heal trauma in a student. So, and there's research that says a healthy, positive learning environment is more effective, or can be more influential than the forces of poverty. So, having, and we were presenting on this, me and some friends. We worked on a project in the school wellness wheel, and it's just like a new way to try to do school, to make sure that schools are healing and resilience centered. And so I was presenting on that data that, a healthy, school environment is more powerful than the forces of poverty. And afterwards, this educator came up and she said, the ACEs test, a lot of us are familiar with that, adverse childhood experience test. She said, I checked off the box on all but one of those. And she said, I had 2 positive teachers in my life that turned my whole life around. And so just those 2 positive teachers, that's 2, it turned her life around, and that was really powerful. But we can heal trauma, and we need to have a connection and healthy relationships. Having those, how are we going to know if something's going on with one of our kids if we don't know, And I'll emphasize healthy, right? We're not their buddy friends, and I know Coach understands that, but just having that, those boundaries and showing them the skills that they need. So, resiliency, there's skills involved, teaching them that, yeah, you've fallen down, but here's how you get back up. Doesn't matter if you fall, let's show everybody how you get back on your feet, and letting them know that failure is a part of life, teaching those skills. And it reminds me of the book Mindset by Carol Dweck, and how a lot of young males, for some reason, they felt that people were just born good at stuff, and if they weren't good at it, they wouldn't really try. And then for some reason, the young females, if they failed, they thought they didn't work hard enough. And so to have that balance with them, and then teach them that, no, so-and-so is good at painting because they practice a lot. They weren't born good at painting. Or so-and-so is good at playing the guitar because she practices a lot. And just teaching them that, the truth that you reap what you sow, or you get out of something what you put into it. And then I think a lot of times our students are afraid to care. They'll say, I don't care. And let them know that, it's scary to care. And we need you to take a risk and to start to care. Because when you care, that means you're putting your heart on the line, you're putting your heart out there. And, and it's easy to not care, and there's other choice words I've had with a lot of young people about that, but that was the gist of the lesson is, it's easy to not care. You need to take a risk and start caring, and working and putting forth effort, but just teaching those skills, that this is how you can become resilient. Or I was very fortunate to be raised by my grandmother, and having and I'd never felt, I felt it was a place of privilege. And I felt privileged, and then having all the older cousins around me, and they taught me resilience. Like, I'd say, hey, this happened at school, and I go, oh yeah, that happened to me before too. Next time you should do this. And hearing those stories of how they navigated, young adulthood were really, it was really important. And it makes me worried that a lot of our kids today don't have that listening ear. They don't have maybe those older cousins to say, hey, this happened at school, or this happened, and then getting some advice. So I think that's why your grants are so important, because you can reach those students that need somebody to talk to, or need somebody to be aware of what's going on in their lives. So I coached once, James. Well, I say more than once. Middle school, high school. And then I like to joke that if we would have won state, I would have got rehired. Made it state, we didn't win. So
Man, I think I can certainly appreciate that, because of course, you're when we do our jobs, it's to have the successes, the highest of the successes. But I've noticed one thing is the better we get, the more pressure it is on me. When we weren't very good in the beginning, then nobody wanted my job. Now it's the opposite, where we're
sending kids to college, and we're going to state every year, and more kids are coming in, and now it's like we want to go coach at Riverside. I'm like, man, you guys didn't want to have anything to do with this. I have coaches who have heard that they want my job, but they wouldn't even scrimmage us before. I would
Coming
call
out
them,
of the
hey,
woodwork now, huh?
yeah, like, will you scrimmage us? No, we don't want to scrimmage you. And now it's the opposite. They want to coach there, and I'm like, come on, man, like. But whatever. Moving on. I wanted to talk about the resiliency part, and again, both of you guys both touched on perfect things. Like with Chelsea, when you just show up and it begins for those people who you show up for to take notice. And I really feel like that, we've reached a point in our lives where we've had enough success to where when you do show up, hey, how come they're here, and who are they, and who are you to those people in your community? And we've had the successes in our lives where we are somebody, whether it's academically, whether it's culturally, like beadwork or dancing in the powwow world, whether whatever it may be, you are somebody. And so because you're that example, once you do begin to connect with those kids, you then at that point become the role model. And whether it's positive or negative, we know that there's negative role models too. I actually was able to reach to get my master's degree because there was an entire program based on, and Jason said this earlier, kids need to see somebody like them in the classroom. They need to see the teachers. They need to see the superintendents. They need to see the principals or whatever. They need to see the coaches that are native, because then at that point, they start to believe in themselves that they can achieve it as well. But then also at that point, when you begin to show up at their events and you begin to be a person of note in their life, at that point, you then begin to share your successes and your failures. More importantly, the failures, because that's actually one of the cornerstones of my own program is learning through failures, because we know it's a normal part of life, and we've always been taught, especially with natives, where I've had to deal with a lot of mentalities where if it gets tough, if I quit, then you didn't beat me and I just go back home and I'm okay. To me, this is the take a L generation, where it's cool to take an L, and it bugs me. But I used to be okay with it too when I was younger. But now on the other end of that, it's like, okay, how do we approach that? And, if you show where, and there are examples where you show how many times a person failed before they begin to get their success. For example, I use this a lot. I have a math finance class that I teach also, and this is just an average number, that it takes the average millionaire 18 failed businesses before they hit their first million. Well, who knows that? Not very many people. 18 failed businesses. But what does that boil down to? It boils down to, I just kept going until I won. Didn't matter how many times I failed. And when I did fail, I just learned how not to do something, and I kept going. I'm technically in that same boat myself as a coach. I haven't won state yet, but I'm in just finished my 19th year. So this is 19 years I haven't won yet, but I'm still going because I'm going to get one eventually. There's going to be a team that does it for me. So if I have that mentality myself, it's going to bleed over into my kids, and they're going to carry it on when I teach them in even through the drills that we're doing. We have drills that you have to accomplish certain things, not only individually, but as a team. And if we don't get it, there's a negative consequence. If we do get it, we get to move on. And it builds over time. But you have to teach them how to be okay with failing. And it doesn't stop everything that you're doing. Doesn't mean you have to, quit and become something else and all that. It's just you keep going. And then eventually, once those failures become successes, and in our drills, we're blowing our goals out of the water, where at first we weren't. That's huge, that you have to teach these kids that failure isn't as big as society society makes it. And then at that point, you become that positive role model that teaches that. Now, once you show up and once you do show them, technically, the biggest key that I've seen, especially with Native kids, is, and we've had teachers come and go at Riverside, and the ones who do make it, the kids, they know how to connect with the kids. And then they have those particular kids that they vibe with, and those kids will connect with them, and those kids begin to have successes. Then there's other teachers who are there for a business type atmosphere. I'm the teacher, you're the student, and we're here to learn, and you do your job and I'm going to do mine. Well, in those instances where the Native kids are concerned, they wear them out and they eat them up. And usually those teachers don't last very long. And if you can build trust with these kids, then at that point, they're going to turn, they're going to run through a brick wall for you. And they're also going to grow as a youth and, as a young adult. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do, because it is, everybody has their own areas that they're working with. And that's what we're here for. So that our basically changing our culture around from being the strong people to going through everything that we've gone through and building it back to where we are the strong people, how we were prior to that, and walking in two worlds at once, where we can have our own world where we are who we are within ourselves, and also in this other world that we have to operate in that isn't us. So, to me, if you show up and you share your successes and your failures and you build the trust, that you're going to get that growth from the kids that we're all trying to get.
Thank you. I think that's a big thing, is showing up, somebody being there. I played basketball in high school. I was riding the pine, but I still played it. The only reason I had, not the only reason, this girl, her name is Wendy Willits, one of my best friends. She was Caitlin Clark before Caitlin Clark, but she was amazing. And so I was a good guard. I learned how to guard because that's who I had to guard in practice. But I went to every game, and every game my grandpa sitting up in the stands watching me sit there, but he was there. But that's important, being there and showing up. And I still found resilience in that. Very timid growing up, but whenever I got to play, that was it. It brought out the dog, as Chelsea stated. And I have broken hand, broken ankle, knee surgery from basketball, all the good things, because I was short. Well, I'm still short, but being right there around everybody and almost busted my nose, all the good things, and I'd still be playing right now. But we get older, things hurt. But so all of you guys are just amazing and have been able to, and I know my NYCP folks, Hannah's NYCP folks too, but I know they all have been working with kids, working with students, and some of them have been working with students to help them become teachers. And they have been doing a lot of college work. Our kids have been doing a lot of college work to become educators. And so they can be that representation in their schools. And all of you guys are teachers. Chelsea was a former teacher, an amazing teacher. What's some advice that our NYCP folks can give our students that are going into education? Because we all know it's hard. I was in the classroom for 11 years, not quite 19, then I came here. And it's hard here too. It's like a fish out of water. Jason knows how difficult it is up here. So I'm glad you guys are all here. You give me strength when I hear you talk about everything, and especially from being back home. But what is some type of advice you would give our young kids in these programs, our guarantees can give our kids in these programs that are going to be our next round of Native educators in these schools? And you all know that there's times we feel like giving up. So what would you say to help them out? Chelsea, you already know I'm going to say you go first, so go ahead.
I think, for me, the biggest thing is just to go in and be yourself and still have those healthy boundaries. For sure. Like at the end of the day, you are there to help mold and plant seeds and for future doctors and lawyers or whatever the case may be. So I think, if you go in not pretending to be somebody else, I think if I went in pretending to be this tough guy, this is my classroom, like Coach Kelly said, then they would have eaten me up too. And at the core who I am, I'm a kid from Anadarko, Thunderbird Public Housing, just like the kids that I taught. And that was just it. I was just myself. Of course not all the way myself, but enough of myself, it just to be able to relate with them. And like I said, setting those healthy boundaries. So I guess my advice would be to just be. It will be hard. No matter how yourself you are, like it will be tough. Kids, not only are they resilient, but they can be jerks. They can be jerks, especially to a first year teacher. So embrace the suck. It gets better. And just be yourself and just trust the process and stick to your guns. And they will fail, they will make mistakes, they will feel like there's nothing left they can do. And then just when you feel like you're starting to like, man, I don't think this kid is ever going to get it, they'll get it. They'll get it. And then all of a sudden after Christmas, you're like, dang, I don't know what happened after Christmas, but little Johnny is getting it. And that right there is just like, that feeling is, I always say, like teaching and seeing a kid who was struggling at the beginning become successful is a high that I would chase for the rest of my life. It's just so exhilarating. And so I don't know, I guess I would just say trust the process, be yourself and establish those healthy boundaries and relationships.
I would just encourage them. It's a really family-friendly profession, and it's a difficult profession, but it's really rewarding because as a native educator, you're affecting generations. You're affecting not just those students, but their futures and the generations that follow them. And I'm from the Plains area in Montana, so we have a lot of buffalo up here, and that's something that we told our students is a long time ago, the buffalo was a source for everything: your home, your sustenance, your food, your clothing, your shelter, your tools. But now education is your new buffalo. Education is going to make sure your grandma doesn't run out of groceries. With an education, you're going to make sure that you can give your aunt gas money. With that education, you're going to be able to take care of yourself and take care of others. And then tying it back to, we already had education. We already had forms of education before, the school systems. There was places you learned how to hunt, or you learned how to use medicinal plants, or you learned how to fish. You learn skills on how to build shelters. So we already had education, and looking at schools and in that manner that we're just going to add this, and then as a young teacher too, I hope they would make it their own. Make it their own, and of course the first few years are going to be tough, right? Sink or swim, but once you figure it out, you can really make it your own. You're going to be able to strengthen the kid's identity, make those healthy connections. You're going to be able to teach resilience. You're going to be able to emphasize who they are, and that there's resiliency in their DNA, that they come from strong people. They come from providers. They come from healers. They come from spiritual people, visionaries. They have all these people in their DNA and their blood, and that's where they come from. And so they have the power to affect a kid's life, to know who they are, where they come from, and then from there, those kids will most likely have a brighter future.
Uniquely, because I'm at Riverside, I'm able to reach kids all over the United States. So I get to I get to experience a lot of the different tribal cultures in one classroom. So first, I always want to say, especially if you're a new educator, is that it's a kid's job to test you to see what you're going to let them do. And it's just like any other kid. So then, because you know you're going to be tested as a new educator, I have to first say, trust the process. There is no amount of they send us through this classroom management and all of the stuff. Man, you could throw that stuff out the window because there's not every situation that's going to be covered. And so again, like they said, it is going to be tough in the beginning. So I want to encourage you first to make sure, as you're trusting the process, that you learn how to connect and meet them where they are. And secondly, make sure that you stick to your guns, not necessarily trying to be the authority and override them with authority, but just say, look, this is the rules, and these rules are backed by my administration and the student handbook, and this can go as easy or as tough as you want it to. But there's no reason. You're just basically just building the groundwork, saying this is the framework from which we're going to work in. At that point, once they understand, and they will test you, once they understand that that's the framework, at that point, that's when you begin the connection. And the reason why I can say that is, after, finishing up year 19, it's like in the beginning, I made a lot of those mistakes too. But I guess the easiest way to say this is, even though when it's tough in the beginning, it becomes what you do. And then you have the confidence. Like I didn't like to speak in front of people. Now I don't have a problem speaking in front of people because I've done it for so long. And I stand in front of kids who don't want to hear me, and I'm able to speak in a manner and bring their attention to me. Whereas before I didn't even want to be heard and I was at the front of the room. But you just have to make sure that within that framework, they're going to test you so that they can see if they can respect you. I've heard kids where they have never given me problems at all, and they'll go to other classrooms with other teachers, and I'm not bashing other teachers, but because every teachers know who, there's other teachers that are a lot softer or their approaches are different, and that same kid that has never given me any problems and who I get good grades out of and good responsiveness to will go be a problem in another teacher's classroom. And it's because every single hour that they move to, they have a different, every teacher has a different set of rules, and they'll adjust to it every single hour throughout the day. So then that becomes, what are you going to do as an educator? How are you going to set up your structure in your classroom? How can you connect with the kids so that you can earn their trust, so that you can get the most out of them without the negative behaviors? And that takes time to learn, and you're going to make the mistakes. You're going to have that one kid that you really blow up on. You're going to have that one kid that just constantly you can't connect with. But in the end, as you go through the process, it just becomes what you do, and it becomes, you're able to be just like anything else. You keep practicing, you're going to get a lot better at it, and you can become a master teacher. One thing I will say, be careful of if you stay in it very long. I think Jason can probably attest to this. Within the first few weeks after you become a teacher, as long as we've taught, you stop seeing kids and you start seeing behaviors, and you can kind of tell within the first couple of weeks what type of kid any particular student's going to be. And because we've done it for so long, you can almost interject with them early so that they don't become that negative problem, because we've seen it for so long. Because there's only so many kids that you're gonna deal with, and they all have these particular personalities and behaviors that they have, and you just see it, you address it, and a lot of times you can hit things off at the pass before things get too far down the road in a negative manner, and then you begin to be able to be a teacher to them. So just trust the process, and I think you'll be fine.
So I was spoiled as a teacher. My first year I taught at Washita Valley Head Start, the best teachers ever. I had a great class. got one of my babies playing D1 football. He's what is he called? What is his team? Chelsea Jackrabbits? Kenyon? Yeah, my babies. And then that second year, I taught at second grade. All my friends requested their kiddos to be in my class. My Robert, Montana, Lexi, Celestina. It's a great class, just amazing. My third year, I thought, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to quit that third year. I had every single kid in the whole school, all the kids that were on an IEP were in my classroom and the second grade. And I don't think they were supposed to do that, but they were like, oh, you can handle everything. So that was hard, but it gets hard. It's great. I miss being in the classroom. That was my source of strength. I love teaching. And I know a lot of our kiddos in this program, and you guys, if y'all have any questions, just come off camera if you want to, or put it in the chat. But I know we have a lot of kids that are going through some teaching courses, and they're going to graduate with so many credit hours and be an educator. And it's the best job. It's the best job I ever had. It's hard, but I got to grow up and move with my kids, and it's one of the best things I ever did. I didn't make a whole lot when I first started, but yeah, my kids make more than me right now. And they were, whenever I first started, and they're only like 21. My babies are 21, but that was a lot. But does anybody have any questions at all, or comments, or anything?
I want to throw in a quick comment. I think I kind of said as I was listening to you talk, these kids are changing you and teaching you just as much as you think that you're teaching them. And I want you to remember that, because I've probably changed my approach of what I've always been told is successful more than I have over the last 19 years. And I have walking in with this idea of this is how so-and-so has success. I don't even do none of that stuff anymore. Zero of it. So just remember that these kids are teaching you just as much as you're teaching them.
Oh yeah, they do. And I remember all the mistakes I made as a teacher. And so tell your students they're going to make mistakes. And then I go home and I think about it. And what did I do? How did I say that? How did I come across? I had a bad day. And sometimes it happens, but they did. My kids taught me a lot. I could name almost every single one of them. And even the ones that pushed my buttons and gave me a hard time, those guys taught me a lot. They taught me patience. And one of them was my own kid that I had in my class, and I only did that once. I had my twins. I taught them, and I didn't do it again because that was tough, having my babies in my classroom and then going home to them and looking at them like, oh, just go to your room. So it was tough. But do any of you guys have any comments, questions, concerns?
I would say I want to add, especially within Indian country, we all know each other. A lot of times us as families, we all know each other. But we need to give students, the opportunity, to have a fresh start. I've heard sometimes educators or paraprofessionals say, oh, that's so and so, and they're from that family, and they're like this. And then they kind of hold that kid down or don't give that kid the benefit of the doubt. But we need to make sure that we don't do that to our kiddos. So I'll leave that out there.
Yeah, that was a big one for me too. And like Coach said, my kids that I had, they would be in someone else's room, and it would happen. Chelsea, I know it's happened with her too. Those kids would give another teacher a hard time, but with us, I never had a hard time. If I did, I'll be like, I'll call your Uncle AJ right now. So, that they just knew. And a lot of them I was either related to, or they knew their grandmas and showed up to their games. But that's the biggest thing is showing up and being there and having representation and building rapport. So when you guys are working with your tribes as well, working with your schools, it all comes down to relationships and building that rapport and that trust and with your kids and your students, your participants. But Doris, did you have any questions that I didn't get to? I see you're on,
Yes,
I see your name.
Yes, I'm back. No, I think you covered it. It's been really great to listen from you all. I am not a teacher for many reasons, and so I always just always give respect to those that do going to teach, because it takes a special person to sit in the classroom and have so much patience and discipline. And so I just really appreciate you all coming and sharing and allowing us just to take a piece of and learn who you are.
So thank you, Doris. And Doris is amazing at what she does and all of the TA that she helps with our grantees and helping me out. But I would like to give the floor back to you guys and any final words for our grantees as they go out. And I will tell you, they are doing the work. We have some grantees who, the grants that are in their community, and Chelsea and I worked on an NYCP grant as well. And, you know, our community sometimes is, it gets hit hard. We had, a lot of suicides in our community at one time, and some of our grantees have had the same thing happen, and they had this grant. And I'm not saying it's just for this grant, but the policies that they were able to implement within their school, and the different activities that they were able to have with their kids because of this grant and the money that comes with it, has done an amazing job. And I have one that they went from such a high suicide rate to one attempt, and it was just an attempt. So they were able to reach that kiddo. And that's why this grant means a lot to me, is because we can help so many different kids on so many different levels, whether it's the ribbon skirts, whether it's basketball, you know, different sports. And you guys heard Coach Kelly, and y'all can think about doing being at a basketball game or a sport, somewhere where your kids are going to be. Start going to them, and so they're going to start coming to you when they start knowing that you're going to be there for them as well. So these grants are amazing. They work. This is money in your community, and the biggest thing is, let's not waste this money. Let's make sure it's getting to these kids. Let's make sure it's getting to where it needs to go to build our community up. Find some ways for it to be sustainable. Start braiding some activities with Title VI funds. Make sure you're talking to your parent committees, because it can happen. So I just want to throw it back to you three for any final thoughts. And we'll just start with Chelsea.
How did I know? You're gonna start with me. I guess just real quick. My sister's not on here, but I would like to give her a shout out anyways. She's gonna be a principal, so that's another Native that's gonna be doing. She's probably a lifer. I mean, I only taught for a couple of years, I was in school for a couple of years, but my sister, she will probably be like a 40-year teacher. And a part of that was because she had my niece really young, and it's allowed her to be present with her. So anyways, that's her story. You guys can invite her next time if you want to hear it. But I would just say, I know that the work that, I just want you guys to know how special the work that you guys do is. It's just super special, and you really get a chance to be like superheroes like every day. And I think that's really super dope. But in that same breath, I hope that you fill your cup as well. And I hope that you take time to take care of yourself, because if you're running on E all the time, then you can't drive these kids to where you want them to be or where they should be. So I just hope you take a little time, to love on yourself, so that you can be, who it is that you want to be, and that you can help, your community. So, take some time. I'm telling you that, and I need to play this recording back and listen to it myself, saying, to take some time to love on yourself and give yourself a pat on the back, and just do things that make you happy and fill your cup. And I'm just so grateful again, Donna, for inviting me to be a part of this panel. Thank you.
I would just say, take care of your partnerships. You know, partnerships are really hard to have, especially if you're partnering with a school. You know, a lot of educators and principals are really super busy. And so just maintain that partnership and so that you can keep the grant, right? But maintain that partnership. A lot of times when I was a principal, we had people wanting to create partnerships, but it was like an unequal load. They wanted us to do their work. They wanted us to do all the work and be like, well, what are you guys going to do, you know? Or they'd say, you know, we want you to teach this in your school. And so basically, you know, and make sure it really is a partnership. And teachers do work hard. Be sure to give them some shine, give them some acknowledgement instead of just maybe all about your organization or whatever, but we really just lift them up in the community too, like such and such school is doing this great work. And, you know, that's really encouraging to school leaders and educators too. So, and I was in a partnership with a university and a tribal college and my school, and it was really neat because it was a true partnership. We had some people who published papers, but they included the teachers who helped in the publishing of those papers. And so it wasn't just their group, you know, it was all of us. It was a real partnership. We all reaped the benefits from it, and our students were able to it was pretty cool. We had it was an indigenous science camp. So we taught regular water science, and then we also taught indigenous water science. So anyways, it was pretty cool. And I'll pass the mic. And thanks for having me, everybody.
I guess the last words I'll leave you with is you're not going to be able to reach everyone. You know, obviously it's a two-way thing. You guys are providing through your grant, services and stuff like that. One of the biggest things that I've learned, along with all the other stuff that I've talked about, is you can only help people that want to be helped, and there are going to be people who will reach out, but just like Jason said, they're gonna want you to do everything for them, and it doesn't work like that. But do the best you can, make yourself available. Do what you can through, for whatever your grant allows. But you're not going to be able to reach everybody. But with that being said, the ones that you do reach will bring others because of the success that they had with your programs. They will bring others that are like-minded. So the ones that you don't reach maybe weren't ready for it yet. But the ones that you do reach will bring others, and it will begin, your successes will probably begin to increase as you progress. And so focus on those ones who really do want the help, and who really do are that you make the connection with, that are coming back, and they'll talk about the successes that they had, or the things that they've had that helped them feel better, and they'll bring other kids around, and it'll grow from there. But I want to thank you guys for having me on. And I thank Donna for inviting me as well.
Thank you all. Yeah, you're all planting those seeds. So whether they're getting through to you, or they come back, or they don't come back, you're planting a seed. So any last questions from our group before we say goodbye? Okay, well, thank you all for being here. All my NYCP folks, we're going to have our summer series this summer, talking about, the different policies and the historical policies of that we'll learn about the Executive Order 14112. So we're going to learn all about those different policies, but there's a summer series session. But I want to say thank you all. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Chelsea. I miss you. And I know you guys are all doing great things in your community. But I appreciate you all being here. You've blessed our NYCP people, and I hope our NYCP folks, get that rest, pat yourself on the back for doing a great job this second year of the grant, and go out, get rested, and unless you're doing some summer sessions, get out, get rested, find some rest somewhere, and we're going to start all over again in August. So thank you all. There's a poll that is up. So this is usually Doris talking.
Yes,
So,
sorry, I'm
yeah,
here.
there you go. I'm like, there's a
I
poll.
didn't want to
I don't
stop
know what it
the
is.
flow. Yeah, so again, like Donna said, guys, thank you so much for coming. Please be sure to fill out the poll for us. I definitely recommend you guys taking some time and adding what you want to see in the next fiscal year, so we can have more of these sessions, have more of nation building. I like to say, I like to put in the forefront how we can build across our programs. And like Donna said, also, the dates you see on the screen, please write those down. We're really excited to have that time with you all. And then also, if you want to meet with us for the summer, please be sure to always schedule a time with us for coaching. Even if you want to sit and chat and talk to us, we're down for that too. We love to hear what's going on in your programs as well. And as always, we will leave you with the contact information. Always, if you're contacting Hannah or Donna, please include your PR number. And if there's anything you may need over the summer, we do provide summer support. Our next talking circle, unfortunately, is not until August 17th. So I know you're going to miss us. We're going to miss you too. But we do have office hours in May and in June where you can come and chat with us. Let us know what you're doing during the summer. Let us know how your kiddos are doing, how your family is doing. If you guys have any fun things to talk with us about as well. And that's all we have for closing. Donna, do you have anything else for folks I may have forgot grant-wise?
Not grant wise. If it's anything to do with grants, we'll email you. I don't want to ruin the whole great talking circle that we had. So, but everybody I think has turned in everything, and if you haven't, we'll get a hold of you. But thank you all
Thank
for
you,
being here.
everyone.